Hello and welcome to the first in a series of videos that will be focused on my trip to America at the end of the year. If you subscribe and you click on that notification bell, you'll get notified when I upload new videos. So first of all, I just want to let you know that I have got some dot points here, otherwise I would forget to tell you all the different things I want to tell you. So for this first video, I am looking at the planning and the booking of my trip that's happening at the end of the year. Now there's lots of different ways to do this, to do your planning and to do your booking, to do your research, all of that kind of stuff. And no one way is better than another. You do what best suits you, what is the easiest for you. And what I'm going to go through now is what I like to do and the way that I like to do things. I'm sure there's simpler ways and I'm sure there's easier ways, but this is just how I like to do it. So for example, I will book my flights before I book my accommodation, whereas some people will do their accommodation and then they will do the flights. I think it all depends on where you're going to, if it's a particular kind of accommodation that you want and it's only available during a certain period of time, that sort of stuff, then yes, definitely go ahead and book your accommodation. But I just prefer to do the flights first, because that's one of the biggest costs is getting from where I live in Australia over to the States. So it's really imperative that I can get the best prices, and the only way to get the best prices, unfortunately, with airlines and with flights is you need to be flexible with your dates and your times. So let's first look at when to go. This year I'm going to be going to Orlando to visit the theme parks, and that's going to include Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, plus I do have the option to go to places like Busch Gardens, out to Kennedy Space Centre. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do on those spare days that I have, but I've got time to decide that. So previously I've been to Orlando in December and I've been in September. I loved December because of all of the Christmas decorations. I didn't like September because when I was there, Hurricane Irma came through and it was bloody hot afterwards. So the humidity, and I come from North Queensland, so I come from Townsville in North Queensland, and we have humidity, but oh my God, the humidity that was there after that hurricane had gone through was horrendous. So I don't want to go in September ever again. That's just definitely sworn me off. So what I decided to do this time was to go in November. And the reason behind that was that I could catch a bit of the Epcot Food and Wine Festival and then the Christmas, morphing into Christmas as well. I will miss the Epcot Holidays Festival of the Holidays, but I'd much rather go to the Wine and Food Festival. So Christmas is my favourite time to visit the parks, and that's why it is a great time for me to go. So I'm going in the beginning of November, the first few weeks in November before Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving that week can be absolutely crazy. So I'm going before that. I'll be home by the time Thanksgiving hits. The crowd calendars also indicate that it's mild crowds, so mild to moderate depending on the day that you go. Weekends are always busy no matter which theme park you go to anywhere in the world. But yeah, so the crowd calendars are saying that it's going to be mild to moderate. And the one day that I do have to take into consideration is the Veterans Day, which is on the 11th of November, which is also our Remembrance Day here in Australia. I think I'm using that day to actually transfer from the Universal side of Orlando over to the Disney World side. I can't remember just off the top of my head, but we will have a look at that soon. As I have already mentioned, I do prefer to book my airfares first. And luckily for me, in my personal situation, I can be very flexible with when I travel. I don't have young children that are going to school, so I'm not governed by when the school holidays are and things like that. So I can go when the deals are good and hopefully when crowds are low and things like that. And go on those shoulder seasons when it's a little bit cheaper for airfares and accommodation. So what I do is I do up a rough itinerary of what I want to do, how many days I want to go for, and it gives me an idea of the minimum number of days that I need to book, or that I'd like to be there for. Then I use this timeline to work out my flights. So normally what I do is I put my dates into a website like Webjet, and I literally I move them, and I tick that flexible box, and I move them left or right, that sort of thing, and I will see which carriers have got what sort of prices. Sometimes American Airlines is better, sometimes United is better. It just depends. As a general rule, Qantas tends to always come up the most expensive. And so for Qantas flights, I think you really do need to wait for the sales, and they change throughout the year, like when they're going to be. But subscribe to their emails and newsletters and stuff like that, and you'll get notified. As a frequent flyer, you usually should get some sort of notification. And so what I did, I ended up using the Qantas, what's it called? The multi-city app, or multi-city search. And that allows you to do leg by leg by leg. So I'm in Townsville, so I did Townsville to Brisbane, Brisbane to LA, LA to Orlando, and then the reverse coming home. And if there weren't flights available, then I would switch and I'd come in at Sydney. So I tried all different combinations of flight routes. So there was somewhere I went from Townsville to Melbourne and flying out of Melbourne, flying out of Sydney, probably go through Dallas, that kind of thing. That's the route that I wanted to go. I wanted to go Townsville, Sydney, Dallas, Orlando, and back the same way. It just feels like a much better flight plan. However, I wanted to use my points. So I had a whole stack of points. I had like 260,000 points, something like that. I've been saving them up for a few years. And so everything came down to which flights offered the reward seats. And that's why I had to move dates around. I had to move routes around, that kind of thing. I got it all sorted, put in the routes that I wanted to do. And then it came all the way through to pushing the button to book it, and it crashed. So I ended up ringing Qantas, and I got on to a really lovely guy on the Qantas, in the Qantas contact centre, and he had a look. And while the website was allowing me to do the Orlando to Dallas trip, it actually wasn't available. So that route there was not available. By the time that I got to push the button, that route had sold out of the reward seats. So I had to start over again. So this took a period of about 3 days to get the dates and the timings and everything right. One point about the multi-city is you can only do 2 routes with the same date. So because there is no direct Townsville to LA, one route, LA to Orlando, 2 routes, and I have to go through the Brisbane. And because of the time differences, it turned out that Townsville to Brisbane was 1 route, Brisbane to LA was 2, and LA to MCO was 3, and they were all on the same date, so it wouldn't let me book it. So the only way that I could do it, and it's going to turn out to be really a bit of a blessing actually, is to go from Townsville to Brisbane, go overnight in Brisbane, and then fly out of Brisbane the next day and do the 2 routes on that second day. It's only adding a small cost to my itinerary for the accommodation at Brisbane, and I'm staying at I think it's the Ibis, the one that's right next to the airport, to the domestic terminal. And so because I am staying there, I think might have been $200, but I didn't pay for any flights. So rather than spending $3,000 on flights, I ended up spending 143,000 points, and I think it was 143, yeah, and like 100. I think I've actually got it written down. Yes, 143,600 points, and it was about $460 in taxes. So all up, my whole return flight was $463 in taxes. And one of those legs that I'm doing when I come back, so I can't come back via Brisbane, they didn't have any seats, so I'm doing Orlando to LAX, LAX to Sydney, and then Sydney, Brisbane, Townsville. But the leg between Brisbane and Townsville going back is business class. So one of the things that has happened since I have booked is that my flights have changed, that flight times have changed twice already. Now, I'm not going till November. It's now, we're sort of halfway through February. I expect my flight times to change quite a bit, which I don't mind. You know, I'm going on holidays. So long as I get there, that's all I really care about, to be honest. Okay, so let's have a look at the accommodation. Once my flights were organised, I then finalised my itinerary and worked out what I wanted to do, so I knew where I wanted to stay. I love both Universal and Disney World, so I tend to stay at Universal when I first arrive, and then I finish up in Walt Disney World at one of the resorts in Walt Disney World. Pop Century is always my go-to for Disney World. I love that resort. I've been there twice, and I don't know what it is about it, but I just love it. When I was last there, they were still building the Skyliner. So that was in 2017. That's the last time that I was over there. Of course, COVID came along. We did have a trip booked for 2020, but COVID saw the end of that. And ever since then, the prices of flights have just been astronomical. So I've been waiting until I could save up and get my reward seats, and I could afford to go then. So Pop Century is my go-to place for Disney World, for the Skyliner, because it will take me to Epcot and to Hollywood Studios. And then it's got the buses that will take you to Magic Kingdom and to Animal Kingdom and to Disney Springs. As for Universal, I like to be close to the water taxi service, because what it means is when you're getting into the water taxi, there's like a little rotunda and they do the security check there. You get on the boat and then you head off and you end up in City Walk itself, and then you get off the boat and you go into the parks. If you get on a bus, so by staying at the Endless Summer resorts, the only way to get there is via a bus. The bus stops around where the cars and everything is, and you're going in with throngs of other people. So I like to be near the water taxi. The last time I went, I stayed at Sapphire Falls, which I absolutely loved. The first time that we went, we stayed at Hard Rock, and it was brilliant. and we were just lucky that we ended up getting a really good price for the room that time that we went, and it included the express passes and stuff like that. But we were only there for like 2 nights or something, so it actually paid for the express passes as well. So I was looking at Sapphire Falls, and I thought, I would love to go back there because I really did enjoy it. But I didn't want to spend that extra $1,000, so I'm going to stay next door to Sapphire Falls, which is at Aventura. In fact, when I was at Sapphire Falls, my view was over the driveway where you come into Sapphire Falls, and to the left was they were building Aventura. So I'll be staying at Aventura, and I can just walk across to the water taxi. So that was what I ended up deciding to do. And when I compared the prices for the Universal parks, and I went onto the Universal website and had a look at the prices. I went onto booking.com, and I sort of like self-quoted how much it would cost me to stay there. For Pop Century, you used to be able to go onto booking.com and Expedia and all those sorts of things, and you could book via them and get a price, but they don't do it anymore. So you can only get the price from Disney, and I did get a price from a Disney agent, but it's exactly the same price as getting it straight off the Disney website. So there's no difference in price. There's difference in service, but there's no difference in price. So I then went and had a look at attraction tickets. So I knew I was always going to get my park tickets from Attraction Tickets. So I went over and had a look at their website. Now, they're a UK company that has all the different theme parks in Orlando and at California, if you're going to go to Disney or Universal in California. And they generally, in the past when I had looked, their prices were so much cheaper as far as the tickets went. So I went and jumped on, and I thought I'll get the price of tickets as well so that I can do my whole big budget and everything. And when I went in there, they had 10% off accommodation at both Universal and at Walt Disney World. So I sat down and I did conversions and worked it all out, and it turned out they were lots cheaper than going through Disney World, Universal or booking.com. And theirs was a package, so it came with tickets. The only extra thing that I had to buy was the express passes, because I like to have 2 days where I get express passes. And so that turned out to be better. And best of all, I get to pay it off. So one of the things when you're booking your accommodation through your travel agent or, booking.com or those sorts of things, they generally require upfront payment. Or pay when you get there. In particular, travel agents, they want you to pay up front. And they'll give you, like this afterpay, and then, you can get the, I don't know if it's Latitude card or a HSBC card, whatever it is, and you like the no interest sort of payments, and you can get those. Whereas with the attraction tickets, you can just pay them off over time. You've got to have them paid off 6 weeks before you leave. So when I went in there and I made the booking, I was talking to them. Once I've worked out that this is what I want to do, was go through them, I waited until they came online. I think that whatever time it was that they start in the morning. I can't even remember what time it was here in Australia. It wasn't anything terrible. I know it was still daylight. But they came online, and I did the online chat, and I spoke to a lady over there, and she was very knowledgeable and very helpful and pointed me in the direction of, this is probably a better buy for you than this is, and all of that sort of stuff. And then she rang me, so there was no international call for me. She rang me and took my deposit, which was a couple of £100, converted to around about $500 Australian. And it was also easy. It was all just done. It was the easiest way that I've ever booked a holiday. So I'll be paying that off over the next couple of months. and then once I have paid it, that's when they'll send me over the information about the tickets and all that sort of stuff, so that I can organise, like adding it onto my Disney My Experience app, that sort of thing. So that was the accommodation. So everything is booked. I've got my airline tickets, they're all done. I've got accommodation at Aventura, and that is for a week, I think it is. 6 or 7 days, 6 or 7 nights I've got at Aventura, and that comes with a 14-day pass to the Universal Parks, and that's the Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure and Volcano Bay. Then I transfer over to Pop Century, and that also has a 14-day park hopper, which reminds me the Universal one's a park hopper. So 14 days park hopper tickets to all 4 of their parks, plus the 2 water parks, plus the mini golf. You get a Magic Band, Memory Maker, all of that sort of stuff. And I'll put the prices up here so that you can see how much I paid, and I'll do it in Australian dollars, remembering that this was as at January when I made the booking. So now I am fully booked and ready to go. Lots has changed since I was in Orlando in 2017, so I'm looking at doing a couple of videos, maybe one for Disney World, one for Universal, about what has changed and what I'm looking forward to since I was last there, because it'll be 7 years since I was last there, and what I'm most looking forward to, what I'm missing, like Splash Mountain. So if you subscribe and tick the notification bell, you'll get notified when those videos come out. Also, if you did find this video to be useful, please give it a thumbs up, because what it does is it makes the Google thingamabobbies, I don't know how it works, but it makes it easier for other people who are interested in planning holidays going to Orlando, much easier to find the video. So that would be great. Thank you. And that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, take care.